Chapter 52. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Then we'll leave. Makarov stood outside the door and said to Polyushka. After Makarov finished speaking, Polyushka closed the door without hesitation. Polyushka sat at the table in the room, recalling the scene just now, sighed, then lowered his head and carefully read the book on the table. After Makarov saw Polyushka close the door, he glanced at Leila. Leila understood and cast magic to take several people back to the guild. 4 figures appeared in the room. Makarov handed Urza to Leila, and asked Leila to take Urza to find Hilda to change clothes and arrange a room in the dormitory. Makarov called Rob to his room, asked Rob to change clothes, and by the way, find out about Jalal's affairs. Fairy Hill. Standing at the door of the dormitory, Urza looked at the plaque curiously. "Grandma, are you there?" Leila called out. "Leila, why don't you go over and knock on the door?" Urza pointed at the door of the dormitory and looked at Leila's movements in confusion. "Oh, this is a girls' dormitory, and my mother-in-law doesn't allow boys to enter," Leila explained. "But, knocking on the door is not an option." Urza was puzzled. "That is because," Leila touched her nose and said helplessly. "Because of his teleportation magic, I asked him to call me every time he came here." Grandma Hilda opened the door and came out. "Mother-in-law, this is Urza. I want you to help her change her clothes. Just use Kana's clothes. I'll tell Kana when the time comes." Leila quickly got to the point. When Hilda heard Leila's words, she immediately turned her eyes to Urza beside Leila and saw that her clothes were. "No need, Urza lowered her head and said embarrassedly. "It's okay, you don't need Kana's clothes. I have some spare clothes that you can wear." Hilda saw Urza's embarrassment and said softly. Hilda took Urza to her room. Considering that the same situation as Kana might happen again, she bought a lot of spare clothes. Hilda placed the clothes in front of Urza one by one and asked Urza to choose. Urza seemed a little hesitant and picked one at random. Hilda didn't say much when she saw this. Every piece of clothing was carefully selected by her. She immediately handed the clothes to Urza and asked her to change into them. Then she helped her comb her hair, looking at Urza in the mirror. Hilda nodded with satisfaction, then took Urza out of the room, took her to the hall, registered her information at the counter, and arranged a room. After registering, Urza smiled and said goodbye to Hilda, then opened the door and walked out. Urza was wearing a white shirt, a tie, and a dark blue skirt. Her hair fell on her shoulders and she had a sweet smile on her face. "Very beautiful." Leila praised Urza as she looked at her. "Thank you," Urza said generously. "Then let's walk back, familiarize ourselves with the route, and tell you about our guild." Leila led Urza from Fairy Hill to the guild. Along the way, Leila told Urza about the rules of the guild and the origin of its name. Before they knew it, they had arrived at the guild gate. "Yo, Leila, is this your little girlfriend? I was wondering why only the president and Uncle Rob came back. I thought you were slacking off again." Macau and Wakaba joked. "Don't talk nonsense, this is the new member Urza." Leila explained to them with a smile. At the same time, she came close to them and said in a low voice, "I already have someone I like, don't joke around." Macao and Wakaba nodded repeatedly to show that they understood, and then cast a friendly look at Urza and introduced themselves. Urza also responded politely. After that, Leila took Urza into the guild and took her to meet other guild members. After a while, Leila came to the bar and found the guild's emblem. After asking Urza's opinion, Leila stamped a dark blue emblem on her left arm. After getting familiar with the environment of the guild, Urza showed great interest in magic and kept asking Leila how to learn magic. Leila then took Urza to find Makarov and Rob who were drinking, and he was called away by others to ask for information. After Leila took Urza when they changed clothes, the two had already come out of Makarov's room and went straight to the bar of the tavern. Rob changed his clothes and looked much more energetic, but his body still needed to be recuperated, and he would stay in the guild for a few days. It happened that Yajima was still dealing with the remaining things, and it was expected to take a few days to come back for a reunion. When Rob saw Urza, he first asked her about her impression of the guild, and also told her to work hard in the guild and study magic hard. Urza agreed, and then couldn't wait to ask the two of them how to learn magic. Seeing this, the two of them put down their glasses and explained to her carefully. Urza listened attentively, engraving every word in her heart. If you want to learn more about magic, you might as well go find Leila. Makarov smiled and pointed at Leila, who had finished her work. Urza, you have great potential in your body. As long as you persist, you will shine in magic. If you have any questions, you can come to me at any time. Makarov reminded again. After listening to Makarov's words, Urza benefited a lot. She thanked Makarov and left. She found Leila and explained her purpose. After understanding the situation, Leila transmitted the basic knowledge to Urza. Urza looked at Leila's magic with curiosity, her eyes full of envy, and she thought that this magic was really powerful. It was so simple to know a lot of magical knowledge. After Leila and Urza briefly explained their magic, they also explained to Urza, this knowledge is only transmitted to you, you still need to integrate it yourself. Considering the place to practice, Leila simply told Urza about the teleportation array, took Urza to the hut, and told her that if she wanted to practice in the future, this would be a good place. As a result, the practice hut in the East Forest was expanded again. As soon as I walked out of the hut, I saw Leo and Grey sparring, and Ulu was watching beside them. After noticing Leila and Urza, the three of them also stopped. After Leila greeted them, she introduced Urza to each other, and then specifically asked Urza to ask Ulu more questions about magic. After all, everyone's magic concept is different. It is not quite the same, and it is more beneficial to Urza's growth. In the following days, Altair and Kana also came back. Seeing that there was another girl, they were very happy to pull Urza to play with them. Urza also began to get familiar with them. Although Urza had been able to integrate well into the guild before, she was still a little restrained. Of course, Urza is still working hard to learn magic. After all, Kana and Altair have both learned magic and are already working, and she is not willing to fall behind. As time goes by, the magic power in her body is also increasing day by day, and the magic is naturally awakened. The awakened at the same time, Urza sensed a special space. Ulu also said that her magic was night, which was a kind of dressing magic. The armor, weapons, clothes or equipment in a specific space were instantly summoned and worn on the body, and they could be used and transformed flexibly. After learning that Urza's magic was night, Leila took Urza to the best magic prop store in the town and also called Kana. The boss there had connections and could customize some magic armor with various amplification effects. Kana was called because Kana learned how to make after getting the card. She made a deal with the boss there, who gave her a discount for Kana's sake. Afterwards, Leila bought some equipment for Urza and asked her to store it in the space. Urza originally just wanted to take a look and had no intention of buying it because she had no money, but Leila paid for it and said she would pay it back later. After thinking about it, Urza agreed and carefully selected a set of armor and several weapons, preparing to consider the next thing after she made money from work. Finally, Urza naturally joined Kana and Altair's team, and the three of them went to work together. Chapter 53. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It was July, and it was hot, but Leila, contrary to her usual behavior, walked to the commission column and stood there, carefully looking at the contents of each commission. Makarov was leisurely drinking iced wine with a slightly tipsy expression. He inadvertently glimpsed Leila's figure, but did not care and continued to bring the wine glass to his mouth, but then he was stunned, his eyes widened, and he sobered up instantly. He put down the wine glass and rubbed his eyes with his hands to make sure he was not drunk. Other people in the guild who did not go out to work were also shocked. Leila, who had been slacking off in the guild, was actually going to accept a commission. Makarov walked to Leila, and a group of people gathered around. They all hid behind Leila and did not dare to speak, for fear of disturbing Leila. Leila, are you out of money? Makarov couldn't help but stared at Leila seriously and said. Yes, why would you ask that? Leila looked confused, not knowing why Makarov asked that. The last time you took a commission was 2 months ago. Makarov was speechless when he saw Leila's innocent look. Then he took out the commission record book and found Leila's commission completion record. which clearly recorded Leila's work situation. He handed the record book to Leila and asked him to take a look at it himself. Doesn't this explain the problem? The weather has been getting hotter and hotter recently. Other people in the guild are still working, but Leila has not taken any commissions, because Leila himself is not short of money. Everyone envies him for not having to work, but they just can't understand why he is suddenly ready to take the commission this time. Oh, it's just that I haven't accepted a commission for a long time, so I want to go out for a walk. Leila said lightly, obviously not realizing how unbelievable it was that he accepted the commission. In that case, then you should work hard and don't cause me any trouble. Seeing that Leila was willing to work, Makarov was very supportive. He didn't want Leila to be idle in the guild all day, so he gave her some advice. Yes. Leila agreed casually, but in her heart she was silently comparing the rewards and positions of each commission. Then Makarov stood by, ready to record the commissions Leila took, silently watching Leila standing in front of the commissions. After Leila planned the route in her mind, she immediately tore off several commissions and handed them to Makarov. Why do you accept so many commissions? Leila heard the puzzled voice of many members behind her. Oh my God, there are so many people standing behind me, I am scared to death. Leila was frightened by the voices of a group of people and even cursed. Makarov stopped the people who were still complaining and wailing in pain, then looked at Leila and reached out to take the order. Can you take so many at once? Makarov looked puzzled. Yes, go out and play for a few more days. Leila smiled and nodded. Okay. Only Leila can say this, Makarov thought to himself, taking the commission and looking up the record information of the commission. Leila is the most worry-free person in the whole guild. Her own strength is not low, and her magic is also very comprehensive. If the commission is too difficult, she can get out of it safely. Basically, there are no bad reviews for the commissions Leila has accepted. It's just that he is too lazy and completes too few commissions. Makarov wondered whether he should warn him later. Leila saw that Makarov had finished recording, took the commission form, and then couldn't wait to set off for the station. It's not that it can't be completed. It's better to be slower. It's definitely not to avoid certain people. Leila, come back soon. Without you, how can we get the information? Everyone told Leila, crying. Leila sat on the train, looking at the unchanging scenery outside the window, which made people lose interest. She yawned and then fell asleep lazily leaning on the seat. Heartfilia Group, the first group in the Kingdom of Fiori, runs a railway company at home. The land it owns, including the courtyard, occupies several mountains. Leila is playing with Lucy, who is still a young monk. Lady Leila, someone is waiting for you outside. Mrs. Spate knocked gently on the door, walked in, bowed respectfully, and said to Leila. Who is it? Leila held Lucy and put her down gently, then looked at Mrs. Spate and said softly. The man just said he was an old friend of yours, but he was wearing a cloak and a hood, so his appearance was unclear. Mrs. Spate said in confusion. Leila frowned slightly after hearing this, and she began to wonder in her heart. Finally, she decided to let Lucy go back to her room first to prevent any accidents. Lucy, Mommy has to entertain the guests, you go play with Grandpa Pero. Leila stroked Lucy's head and said softly. Well, okay, then Mommy will play with me later. Lucy took Leila's hand and. Okay, Mommy promises you. Leila squatted down and pinched Lucy's cheek. Lucy waved to Leila obediently and walked out of the room. Mrs. Spate, please continue. Yes, Lady Leila. Although the man's behavior and appearance were suspicious, his every move showed kindness. His magic power was profound, far superior to mine. Seeing that I didn't believe him, he only asked me to convey one sentence to you. What? The Heartfilia family's mission for generations has come to an end. Mrs. Spate conveyed the words truthfully. Where is that person now? Leila was surprised and was stunned. Lady Leila, he is waiting in the courtyard. Invite him to the living room. Yes, Lady Leila. Mrs. Spate bowed to Leila, then she went out to the courtyard, invited Leila with a kind smile, led Leila into the reception room, and then closed the door, leaving only the two of them in the huge room. Leila sat upright on the sofa, with tea already poured on the table, and looked at Leila with doubt in her eyes. "Please take a seat." Leila gestured with her hand, her voice carrying a hint of nervousness. "Thank you." Leila heard that his voice sounded a little young, and she couldn't help wondering how he knew this. Even she was skeptical, but the book that her mother gave her, which had been passed down from generation to generation in the Hartfilia family, clearly recorded this mission. Now someone said that this mission was coming to an end, and she was surprised and relieved. She was surprised that this was true, and she was relieved that this mission didn't have to be passed on to Lucy, and Lucy could live freely in the future. "I know Miss Leila is confused, but Miss Leila doesn't need to be too defensive. I mean no harm. I believe Miss Leila can also sense that the magic in the air is getting stronger and stronger. That moment is almost here. On July 7th, X777, Leila silently recited this date when she heard it. That day is when the sun and the moon overlap. Now Miss Leila has to start preparing. You have 1 year left to find the key of the 12 zodiac signs and open the door." Leila nodded. She had no doubt about the man in front of her. After all, it was not something that ordinary people could do to know all the details of this matter so clearly. "This is the communication magic crystal. Please accept it. If you have any questions, you can also communicate with me. I will help you as much as possible." "Yeah, thanks. Then, I'll take my leave, Miss Leila." Leila watched him perform space magic, and the whole person disappeared from the room in an instant. Because of the excessive amount of information at the same time, her heart could not calm down for a long time. After a long time, she came to her senses, picked up the teacup, took a sip slowly, and finally calmed down. Leila walked to the study, sat down at the desk, wrote a letter to Graham, who was far away in the western continent, and also wrote a letter to Zutter, then called Mrs. Spade and asked her to send the 2 letters out. After Leila arranged this matter, she looked at the time and estimated that Jota should be back. Through the window, Leila saw Jota coming from the courtyard from a distance. She wanted to discuss countermeasures with Jota. With her own influence when she was a star wizard, plus the financial resources of the Hartfilia Consortium, it should not be a problem to find the remaining 9 zodiac keys. Chapter 54. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The key is to find the key. I want to finish this mission, so I have to find other keys. Leila looked at Jota with a firm look in her eyes, and her voice was resounding. After listening to Leila's words, Jota showed a trace of concern in his eyes. How could 1 year be enough to find other keys? What's more, the keys are distributed throughout the continent. Although the Hartfilia Consortium has some reputation in the Kingdom of Fiori, no matter how much it brags, it can only affect the neighboring country of Bosco at most, not to mention other continents. On the other hand, will those star wizards lend them to others as the keys of life? This is too difficult. Leila, I understand your thoughts, but we both know that this is not easy. Jota frowned and said worriedly. I know this is difficult, but we can't give up. The most important thing is that I don't want to hand this over to Lucy again. She just needs to do what she likes. Leila held Jota's hand tightly and comforted her. Jota stared into Leila's eyes, felt the firmness in her tone, and his worries gradually subsided. Okay, in that case, I'll go with you to find other keys. He was silent for a moment, then nodded slightly. After that, the two took the train to Agalafa together, stood in front of the door of the Love Lucky Guild, looked at the guild sign above, smiled at each other, and walked inside. In the guild, Jota and Leila were recognized by the guild signboard staff at a glance, and then they were invited into a room where a reward was posted. Anyone who provided accurate information about the Zodiac Key could receive a generous reward. Meanwhile, Leila on the other side had just boarded the train from Agalafa and was heading to the next destination to continue completing his commission. After that, he had to find the magic ring, remove the cursed cane magic, expel the demons of the volcano, and finally go to Mount Jacob to collect herbs. Oh, annoying, I wouldn't have taken so many tasks if I had known earlier. It's really troublesome. A month later, Leila had successfully obtained the information of 2 keys through the bounty posted in the guild, which belonged to Leo of Leo and Ares of Ares. After learning the news, she went to the house of the Star Spirit Wizard, visited him, and agreed with him to return it after borrowing it for a short period of time in July next year. After a while, there was news about another key, which was Taros of Taurus. In the hands of a rancher, there was news about the other keys here, but the 2 letters Leila sent had not received a reply for a long time, and she had some bad premonitions in her heart. Graham may not receive the letter, perhaps because the journey is too far, or perhaps because of the war in the western continent. The news is difficult to reach. However, there is no news from Zutter, which is really abnormal. Leila thought about it, but she couldn't calm down. She paced around the room. Suddenly, she saw the magic crystal in the corner of the desk next to her. By the way, you can ask him for help. Leila has been constantly trying to find out the news during this period. If she hadn't seen it accidentally, she would have almost forgotten about the magic crystal. Leila, what are you doing? Urza retracted the sword in her hand. I have something to deal with, you practice first. After saying that, Leila hurriedly teleported away. Urza turned her head to look at Kana and Ultia, pointing at Leila, with a puzzled look on her face, and the 2 of them spread their hands to indicate that they didn't know. So, the 3 of them started practicing. Leila teleported away in front of several people, returned to her room, took out the communication magic crystal that contacted Leila, and changed her clothes. Is it Mr. Sun? That when Leila left before, Leila specifically asked for her name. Leila simply used the vest to the end and told Leila that her name was Sun. It's me. Miss Leila, are you in trouble? I would like to ask you if you can help find the remaining keys. I think, with your intelligence ability, you even know about my family's affairs. Maybe you have a way. Miss Leila is a little exaggerated. I'm not that exaggerated. I just happen to know this secret. But Miss Leila wants to know the relevant information about the key. I think you can go to the Star Spirit Realm to have a look. Star Spirit Realm? Aren't humans not allowed to enter? Leila was shocked. It was the first time she knew about this thing. Humans can go in, and I think with your relationship with the Star Spirit King, he should let you in. Well, okay, I'll go right away. Wait, Miss Leila, I have to warn you that the speed of time in the Star Spirit world is very different from that in the real world. 1 day in the Star Spirit world is equivalent to 3 months in our world. I hope you can make proper arrangements before going in. Okay, thank you. After Leila got the answer, she went to Jota without stopping and told him in detail the conversation she had just had with Leila. Don't worry, it's just that I may come back a little later. After all, the time there is different from here. Leila nodded. I understand, be careful. Jota looked at Leila affectionately, hugged her tightly, and said softly. After Leila said goodbye to Jota, she went to find Mrs. Spate and borrowed the key of Cancer from her. Mrs. Spate said that it was originally returned to the original owner, took out the key and handed it to Leila. Leila took the key, and then opened the door of Cancer. Miss Leila, what kind of hairstyle do you want to cut today? Kaisha asked with a smile. No, Kaisha, can you take me into the Star Spirit world? Leila said bluntly. Well, Miss Leila, I need to go back and ask the Star Spirit King. Kaisha was stunned when he heard Leila say this, and then he said he would go back and ask the Star Spirit King. Well, okay, I'll wait for your news. After Leila finished speaking, Kaisha turned into a little starlight and dissipated. Leila waited for a while here, and Kaisha came back with good news. Miss Leila, the Star Spirit King already knows about your situation, and he agreed. That's great. Please change into this dress, Miss Leila. Kaisha took out a dress from the Star Spirit world and handed it to Leila. Okay. After changing her clothes, Leila looked at Kesha. A golden magic circle appeared under Kesha's feet. The magic circle wrapped Leila and then entered the Star Spirit world. The moment Leila stepped on the magic circle, she felt a sense of weightlessness. At this time in the Star Spirit world, a huge golden beam of light fell, and there were 2 figures in it, Leila and Kesha. Leila landed on a platform, and Kesha supported her. She stood up and looked around. as if she had entered a vast universe, with endless stars above her head, shining. The surrounding air was filled with visible magic crystals, and various bubbles were floating around. The starry sky was shining with strange light, and the nebula was as colorful as a scroll. "Miss Leila, please come this way, the Star Spirit King is waiting for you." Kesha stretched out his hand to signal. Connected to the platform is a long and winding road, the end of which extends from this platform to another small planet, on which there is a castle. Leila was filled with wonder. This was the Star Spirit world. She followed Kesha's guidance and headed for the distance, where she could see all kinds of star spirits, who lived on different planets. Kesha took her to a huge courtyard, where the Star Spirit King was sitting waiting for Leila. "My old friend, I already know the purpose of your trip, and I can help you find other keys." The Star Spirit King saw Leila, smiled first, and then spoke. Although his speech was a little slow, his aura was unquestionable, with a majesty that could not be ignored. Chapter 55. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ban dang zem van ban gok chua dike, ko the kio soang koi trang de chan ban dike. Leila recalled what Leila told her, star memory, where you will get the answer you want. It is an archive woven from the memories of the Protoss. It is like a huge library that stores the information and memories of various Protoss and Protoss wizards. As for why Leila knew it, of course she found it through his magic. "I want to see star memory." Leila looked up into the eyes of the Star Spirit King, her eyes full of desire. "Yes, yes." The Star Spirit King agreed without any hesitation. "Thank you, Star Spirit King." "You're welcome, old friend. Let Kesha take you there." "Miss Leila, this way." Kesha leads Leila along the path to another planet. On the way, Kesha introduced Leila to the Protoss race on this planet and the existence of star memory, the Southern Cross constellation. Everyone in this race is an expert in astral science and masters all the information on the gates between the astral world and the human world. The contracted Southern Cross constellations are able to provide information to the contracted party when they are summoned into the real world. However, since the personal information protection law is also effective in the celestial realm, they generally do not disclose the information they inquired about in detail. The memory of the stars is also recorded jointly by the Southern Cross family and the Zodiac, and only they can access it. Through these memories, many past events can be understood, including of course the current contractors and locations of the Zodiac keys. There is only one building on this planet, and that is a huge library, standing there solemnly. Leila followed Kesha into the library, and the sight before her was shocking. The scale of the library is simply beyond imagination. It has a circular structure as a whole, and each floor has clear boundaries. When you look up, you can't see the top at all. Going deeper, the bookshelves full of books were neatly arranged, with information on each floor or even each shelf labeled with the race of the Protoss. There are various tables floating in the space. Beside the desks, the stars of the Southern Cross constellation family are floating in the air, lowering their heads and recording information attentively. Open a book, turn a page at random, and a large amount of text will fly out, and the added and modified text will float in the air and then sink into the book. The bottom area records information about ordinary Protoss. These information about ordinary Protoss may not be as dazzling, but they are equally important and are the cornerstone of the entire Protoss world, and the information related to the zodiac signs is at the top. As soon as he entered the door, Kesha met a star spirit from the Southern Cross who had been waiting at the door for a long time. "Mr. Crew, this is Miss Leila." Kesha and Crooks in front of him introduced Leila, and Leila also bowed to Crooks and nodded hello. "Miss Leila, the Celestial Spirit King and I have already told you that I will take you to the top." "Thank you." Time was running out, so Leila followed Crooks towards the other side of the library door without saying anything. Walking over, a nebula fell. Crooks walked up, and then motioned for Leila to stand up as well. Leila walked up and paused for a moment, only to feel the nebula slowly begin to float upward. After passing through an unknown number of floors, we finally reached the top of the library. This floor was completely different from the one below. The entire floor seemed to be isolated from the bottom. There is no entity in this space. The three of them feel like they are in the starry sky, and the stars in the sky are dazzling. "Miss Leila, this is the memory area of the Zodiac." If you want to know something, I will bring it up for you to check. Thank you. Can I check the location information of other keys first? Certainly. Crooks closed his eyes and fell asleep after a while. As a bubble came out of his left nostril, he woke up instantly after a moment, and then a golden light fell, a map of the world appeared in the entire space, with 11 golden star points clearly marked on it, and the constellations to which they belonged were also written next to them. Leila then focused her eyes on the map. Fortunately, there is only one Aquarius key on the entire map in the western continent, and the other keys are in the kingdom of Fiori. From this point of view, if the key to Aquarius is still in her hand, aren't all the keys in this country? Is this a coincidence or a deliberate arrangement? But what she cares more about is Caprico. There is no Capricorn among these 11 star points. Why, there is no news about his key, and Zutter, and now it seems that the two seem to have encountered some kind of change. Miss Leila, if you need this map, I can help you make a copy before you leave. Thank you, Old Man Crew, but, Old Man, why is there only 11 star points on this map? Where is the key to Capricorn? After hearing what Crooks said, Leila thanked him and then expressed her doubts. The Star King has set a taboo on this matter. He said he would explain it to you later. Crooks said respectfully. Okay, then can you help me check the information of those contractors? Okay, I'll check it now. After that, Crooks recorded the information of those contractors and the locations of other keys one by one, and then copied the map and handed it to Leila. After Leila and Crooks thanked him, they hurriedly left with Kaisha, walked towards the courtyard just now, ready to ask the Star King about Capriccio. Old friend, let me explain it to you. The figure of the Star King suddenly appeared in front of her, with his cloak fluttering slowly behind him and a solemn expression on his face. As the Star King appeared, Kaisha and Crooks saluted the Star King and then walked out silently. Yes. Leila watched the two walk out and waited quietly for the Star King to speak. Capriccio's key cannot be used for some reason. Why? This is Capriccio's memory. As soon as the Star King finished speaking, the entire space began to appear blank with memories, and a scene slowly unfolded in front of the two like a scroll. In the picture, Zutter learned that a certain assassination guild had accepted a mission. The content was Leila Hartfilia. He obtained the information through the local black market. So he intercepted and solved the 3 members of the assassination guild in a forest. Then 2 people suddenly appeared in front of him, an old man and a teenager. The old man's right eye exuded a strong malice, and he looked at Zutter with a hint of amusement. After Zutter realized his unfathomable magic, he took out Capriccio's key to summon him, but the magic didn't work, and Zutter watched his body slowly disappear in horror. After the boy on the other side realized it, he waved his hand and Zutter appeared in front of him again. But he had lost consciousness. After the old man's signal, the boy squatted down and touched Zutter's forehead. At the same time, Capriccio used his magic to run out and wanted to rescue Zutter, but was easily stopped by the old man, and because it consumed a lot to appear in the real world, Capriccio was quickly defeated. At the same time, the boy opened his tightly closed eyes, and he had obviously completed his task. Zutter exuded an ominous aura, his eyes glowed purple, and his eyes looked at Capriccio and merged with him. After a while, Capriccio's body gradually moved, but it was obvious from his actions that Capriccio was no longer the same as before, and his soul seemed to have been replaced by Zutter. In the end, Capriccio, no, it should be said that Zutter followed the two and left. This is what happened. As the scene suddenly stopped, the Star King spoke. How is it possible? What is that? Leila's eyes were full of fear, and her mood was no longer calm. This memory was obviously beyond her imagination. Chapter 56. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After the death of the Lord, the King of Stars told Leila the details of what happened. Zutter had come into contact with a forbidden magic during his journey. At that time, the boy should have used memory magic to tamper with some of Zutter's memory fragments. This led to his mental breakdown and eventually blackened. Zutter had problems with his memory after blackening, and for some reason, he used the forbidden magic. This forbidden magic can merge with creatures other than humans to gain powerful power. Then, is there any way to separate the two of them? Leila was anxious and couldn't help asking the King of Stars. Leila really couldn't bear to see Zutter become like this, which was also a torture for Caprico. When he used this forbidden magic, it meant that he gave up his human identity and lost his body. The Star Spirit King sighed helplessly, and then continued, if the two are forcibly separated, his soul will eventually be expelled, and he will be reduced to ashes with only his soul left. If they are not separated, Caplico's soul will be trapped in the deepest part of this body. How could this happen? Leila widened her eyes full of disbelief and guilt. She never dreamed that things would develop to such a bad point. If she hadn't given Zutter the key at that time, maybe all this could have been avoided. Where is he now? Leila came back to her senses and asked hurriedly. Those two are the president and members of the Dark Guild Devil's Heart. Leila, you must not act rashly. The Star Spirit King certainly knew Leila's thoughts. Although he told Leila, he still advised her kindly. Devil's Heart, Leila felt like she was falling into an ice cellar. With her strength, it was impossible for her to rescue Zutter, and there is no perfect solution for Zutter's situation. Moreover, she is now too busy to do anything else. The search for the key has already consumed a lot of the Heartfilia family's connections and financial resources, let alone fighting against the Devil's Heart. It is difficult to summon wizards just to issue a commission to rescue Zutter. After all, no one wants to provoke them. If the Devil's Heart could be destroyed, the council would probably have sent troops to attack them long ago. It is precisely because there is no absolute certainty that once it fails, it will have to bear their revenge. So it was shelved. Forming the current delicate situation, Leila's mood seemed to fall into the bottomless abyss. She knew in her heart that she had no time to take care of this matter, but in this way, there is one less key, and the matter of opening the door has also reached a deadlock. My dear friend, you are now in a dilemma. The last one to be in trouble is you. The 12 keys are not collected, and the door is difficult to open. I can use my own magic to supplement the magic of the other key. After careful consideration, Leila still insisted on her own idea. For the first time, the Star Spirit King showed an angry expression, his whole body bursting with momentum, and the cloak behind him kept shaking. Realizing his own loss of composure, he forced himself to calm down. No, do you know how much magic power is needed? Your magic power is not enough. If you insist on doing it, the last thing you will consume will be your life. The Star Spirit King looked at Leila with a heavy heart. It's okay, don't worry. Leila's expression was unusually firm. The Star Spirit King stared at Leila and was silent for a long time. Star Spirit King, it's getting late, I have to go back quickly. By the way, can you help me bring a message to Aquia? Just say I need her. Okay. The Star Spirit King's voice was low. Then I'll go back. Goodbye, Star King. Leila stood on the platform where she first came, as if the two had just met, smiling and saying goodbye to the Star King softly. Goodbye, dear friend. The Star King trembled his lips slightly. 3 months later, Leila appeared in the room again. It was December of X776, and there were only 7 months left. Leila first went to Joda to report her safety, and then asked about the current time. When she learned that 3 months had passed, she nodded slightly and stopped talking. Then she took out the things that Crooks had given her before and gave them to Joda to let him find the key based on this information. As for the missing key, she decided to hide it from Joda first. Leila didn't want Joda to worry about her. Then she couldn't wait to walk to Lucy's room. Mom, you're finally back. Lucy in the room, while learning magic with Pero, Leila suddenly spotted her and ran over to the desk happily. Pero, who was standing by, did not disturb them. He nodded to Leila and left the room. Lucy, have you been obedient during this period? Leila hugged Lucy. Well, I learned a lot. Lucy said as she pulled Leila to talk about her experiences during this period, counting on her fingers as she spoke, telling Leila bit by bit. Not only did I learn magic knowledge from Grandpa Pero, I also learned etiquette from Granny Spet, and from Mr. Lippin and Mr. Ed. Leila squatted down and watched Lucy talking freely. She looked full of energy, and the corners of her mouth rose inadvertently. Lucy suddenly stopped talking and stopped moving her hands. Mom, why are you crying? Lucy looked at Leila in confusion. From Lucy's perspective, Leila was smiling. but tears were streaming from the corners of her eyes. Leila was startled. She reached out and wiped her face, and wiped away the tears when she noticed them. It's okay, Mom is so happy to see Lucy. Leila explained with a smile. Oh, then Mom doesn't need to cry, Mom can still accompany Lucy for a long time. After visiting Lucy, Leila returned to her room and took out the magic crystal. She still had to explain the matter to Sunday. After waiting for a while, the magic crystal responded. Mr. Sun, I have received news about other keys. That's good, Miss Leila, nothing unexpected happened. Mr. Sun is right, something has indeed happened. It shouldn't be, there are still 7 months left, even if it is far away in the western continent, it is completely possible to rush back. What else can happen? What's wrong? Leila said hurriedly. Capricorn's key is no longer usable. What? How is it possible? How could Capricorn have an accident? Even if something happened, it should have happened after the door was opened. How come it's already? Leila stood in the wind, as if struck by lightning. He could no longer understand the direction of the incident. Then Leila explained the reason to him. Listening to Leila's words, Leila's face remained calm, but she couldn't help but complain in her heart. So, Mr. Sun, that time will not change, right? Yeah, that's right. I want to ask Mr. Sun, do you know the location of that door? I know, but Miss Leila, what are you going to do? I want to force the door open. But if you lose a key, you will. Leila stopped abruptly. I know, Mr. Sun, but I have made up my mind. Leila kept thinking in her mind whether she should tell her that the eclipse gate is in the royal family. If she loses a key, Leila will definitely use her life to replace it. What should she do now? Is there any way to replenish the remaining magic power and let Leila survive? Huge magic power, open the eclipse gate of the royal family, magic, royal family, etc. Got it. Miss Leila, since you are so determined, I can't persuade you. That door is in the royal family, called the Eclipse Gate, and it is the door that the royal family has inherited for many years. Royal family? Thank you Mr. Sun for telling me, then I'll take my leave. Goodbye, Miss Leila. Leila closed the magic crystal, then took out her plan book, began to record the steps on it, and made it specific to each step. Chapter 57. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The sun is shining brightly, and the sky is full of surprises. July 7th, X777, the capital of the Kingdom of Fiori, Crocus. Is it a lunar eclipse? This moon is really uncomfortable. At this time, in the sky, the sun and the moon shine together and gradually overlap. In the center of the Lantern Palace, Moluclia's, 2 figures stood quietly in front of the eclipse gate. They were Thomas E. Fiori and Leila Hartfilia, as if they were silently waiting for something. Suddenly, 2 figures appeared behind them, but the appearance of both of them was hidden under their clothes. One of them walked towards Leila, and in the process, a corner of his hat slightly appeared, revealing a strand of pink hair. She gently held Leila's hand and then cast a spell. A pink halo suddenly lit up, instantly illuminating the surroundings. After releasing her hand, Leila left an extremely obvious bracelet on her wrist, which was intertwined with each other, and a pink heart appeared in the center of the bracelet. She nodded to Leila, and Leila immediately said to the 2 of them, in this way, everything is ready. Thank you, Mr. Sunday. Leila said to Leila. Leila nodded slightly, then stepped back, and then it was up to Leila. Thomas also stood beside Leila, holding his breath, staring at Leila closely. Leila stood in front of the eclipse gate, clasped her hands together, closed her eyes, and began to mobilize the magic power in her body. In an instant, the magic power in her body surged like a surging wave. The 11 keys on her body also gradually bloomed with dazzling golden light. The figures of the 11 star spirits emerged one by one, and then headed for the eclipse gate. After sensing the power of the star spirits, the eclipse gate slowly opened. However, it stopped halfway through opening. Seeing this, Leila was mentally prepared, and released all her magic power in one go. At this time, countless golden dots of light floated in the air. which were materialized magic factors. These golden lights fell around Leila, and then merged into Leila's body to replenish her magic power. As the magic power continued to gather and flow in, there was a loud boom and the eclipse gate opened directly. A white light emanated from it, instantly dispelling the surrounding darkness. Just as the few people relaxed, 5 lights of different colors shot out from the door, pierced through the ceiling wall, and flew away. Leila was unable to react, and even if she did, she would be powerless. Her magic power could only maintain Melty's manifestation. Leila stood in front of the door, panting. It was obvious that her magic power and physical strength had been exhausted, and she was even a little unstable when standing. Leila took out a bottle of potion from the alien space and handed it to Melty next to her. Melty took the potion, walked quickly to Leila, handed it to her, and told her that it was a recovery potion. Leila took the potion gratefully, opened the bottle stopper and drank it all. At this time, the other side of the door was shrouded in white light, and a slight sound of footsteps came. Gradually, a figure emerged in the light. A person actually walked out of the door that has been passed down from generation to generation in the royal family. Thomas's expression could no longer be described in words. Cold sweat ran down his face. Obviously, things had exceeded his imagination. Here, what time is it now? That the person who came was Anna. She walked out of the door and saw Leila at a glance. She couldn't wait to ask her. It's 777. Leila looked at the person in front of her and felt a sense of déjà vu. When she heard her question, she answered without thinking. 400 years later. It actually worked. Anna showed a relieved expression and whispered softly. Huh? Where are the children? Have you seen the 5 children with me? Anna was struck by lightning and suddenly panicked. She looked back anxiously, her eyes swept around, and eagerly looked for the figures of the 5 children. I'm not sure, but when the door opened just now, there were indeed a few rays of light that flew through the wall. After Thomas calmed down a little, he heard her question and raised his hand to point to the 5 big holes on the ceiling, telling her what he saw one by one. How could this happen? Anna covered her forehead with her hand, her face full of self-blame. As the few people were talking, the magic of the eclipse gate gradually dissipated, and with the roar of machinery, the gate began to slowly open. Close, after realizing her own gaffe, Anna gradually calmed down. Then several people introduced themselves, and Anna also learned the identities of Leila and Thomas. After learning that Leila was her disciple for many generations, and that the eclipse gate was also passed down from generation to generation by the royal family, she sighed. However, she still had doubts about the identities of the 2 people standing on the other side, and they obviously concealed their identities. Later, after learning from Leila that the 2 came to help Leila, Anna also thanked them. Now that the matter is settled, we should leave. Leila saw that the matter was settled, and was ready to leave. After all, he was a little tired. Thank you, Mr. Sun, for saving my life. Leila said hurriedly. You're welcome. Leila replied casually, and then teleported away with Melty. After seeing them leave, Anna was relieved and relieved. Although those 2 people helped Leila, Anna still had some concerns about their behavior of hiding their identities. Thomas and Leila were the only ones left around her, and Anna immediately told them about the eclipse gate. Thomas was shocked when he learned that Anna was a human from 400 years ago, while Leila was relatively calm. After all, some details were recorded in the book inherited from their family. Afterwards, Anna thanked Leila again for opening the gate. Leila didn't say anything, just wanted to finish this mission. However, Leila continued to ask Anna about the purpose of coming to this era, but Anna didn't say it, just said that those things could be left to her, and let Leila live a good life. After that, Anna resolutely embarked on a journey to find 5 children. Before leaving, she asked Thomas to destroy the gate if possible, and Thomas reluctantly agreed. While Anna was on her journey, in the underground Naraku palace of the palace, Leila looked around and saw thousands of people lying on the ground. Their magic power had been exhausted. There were also some empty potions scattered on the ground, which were potions that could speed up the recovery of magic power. However, judging from the situation at the scene, Leila's life was saved. After all, they had only exhausted their magic power, and some of them even had some magic power left. Have you seen it, Mr. Sun? Well, the rest is up to you. Don't worry, we will strictly follow the order." The leader of the Hungry Wolf Knights, Scythe, stepped forward and began to carry out their tasks at the same time. Leila left Neriku Palace and returned to the hotel. She went straight to the bed with a sense of relief and then collapsed on the bed. The matter finally came to an end, and Leila could finally have a good rest. Leila was lying down and suddenly got up, took out a book from her own space, looked at it and put it back. Everything went as planned. Leila requested an audience with the king, and then Leila told the king that she could open the Eclipse Gate. The king was skeptical, but it was enough to know that the royal family had the Eclipse Gate. Leila then introduced Leila to him, and Leila also took the opportunity to propose her own plan: let the king get some people from the prison of the council to serve as tools. So, during these 7 months, some reasons were given from time to time, and finally these people were imprisoned in the Neriku Palace. Those people also had lives in their hands. After the waste was used, the king also issued an order to the Hungry Wolf Knights to spare no one. How can people who have lost their magic power and are still wearing magic handcuffs resist the Hungry Wolf Knights? Chapter 58. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The owner of the shop was very busy, and the shop assistant was very busy. "Boss, pack these things for me." Leila gently placed the carefully selected goods on the table, and the boss responded and began to calculate the price of the goods. After some bargaining, the boss gave Leila some discounts, and the clerk packed them skillfully and handed them to Leila. Originally, Leila was going to buy some weapons here, but after a glance, he was disappointed. The weapons on them were just some common types, nothing outstanding. Of course, there were also good ones, but unfortunately the boss said that they all needed to be customized and the price had to be negotiated, so he had to give up. Leila stepped out of the magic prop store and her eyes were attracted by a dessert shop, which was the nationally renowned brand store Heart Kruz. He strode in, and after tasting some special desserts at the recommendation of the proprietress, Leila's eyes lit up. Finally, he left the store with several large bags of desserts and was satisfied. After Leila put all the items into the alien space, he raised his hand to check the time, and then hurried to the station. It takes 2 days to get from Crocus to Magnolia. He bought a sleeper ticket. He had been out for a few days, and it was time to go back. I wanted to go back quietly, but who knew that there was a thief on the train? Leila didn't notice it at all when he stole things. Someone shouted that something was lost, and Leila immediately used telepathy to see through everyone's thoughts and directly found him hiding in the crowd. The thief also ridiculed Leila, saying that he was a poor guy and had nothing. Leila taught him a lesson on the spot and handed him over to the train police, but the thief's tools were pretty good. A magic pill that could increase the speed by 30 times, and the surrounding area would be equivalent to being still, but the time limit was only 1 second. There was also a small magic package with many stolen items in it. Once opened, they were scattered all over the floor. Looking at the wallet that filled the entire carriage, after the incident, Leila was lying there wondering if she was infected. She had never encountered such a thing before, but now she could encounter all kinds of strange things. "Come, Ultia, this is a crystal ball for you." The boss said that it incorporates divination magic. "Kana, this is the card I bought for you. I've seen it. There are many new effects." "Eluza, this is a special dessert for you. Don't worry, I've kept it well in the alien space." Leila took out the gifts from the alien space and handed them to the 3 of them one by one. They didn't go shopping much before, and when they heard that Leila was going to the capital for this long journey, they all asked him to bring some things back. The 3 of them happily accepted the gifts from Leila. Their faces were full of joy, and then they left Leila aside and devoted themselves to the gifts. Oh, by the way, the capital also held a flower viewing competition at that time. After the competition, the participating flowers will be sold publicly, and I bought some back. As Leila said, she took out a few pots of flowers from the space and gently placed them on the table. These flowers are indeed the best of the competition. As soon as they were placed on the table, the surroundings were filled with refreshing floral fragrance. Wow, so beautiful. The 3 of them surrounded the table intoxicatedly, with joy in their eyes, staring at these flowers intently, and occasionally reaching out to touch them gently. Laxus stood aside with a bored look on his face, looking at the flowers on the table carelessly. He saw that Leila had not mentioned the gift she brought him for a long time, and there was no expression on his face. But he had already begun to secretly plan how to fight Leila later. Of course, yours is indispensable. These are the music magic crystals I picked for you in Crocus. Leila saw through Laxus's thoughts at a glance, and then threw him a few classical music magic crystals with rock style. Thank you. Laxus snorted in a pretentious manner, but still took it obediently. Looking at Laxus's arrogant look, Leila secretly said, "Young man, you have a firm grasp. By the way, where are Ultia, Ulu and Grelio? There just happened to be a mission in the north, in Hakabii Mountain, and my mother took them to practice. Oh, then I'll give them the gifts when they come back." After distributing the gifts, Leila was surrounded and pulled away by a group of people. Everyone was eagerly waiting for Leila to come back to provide information, and then go out to work. After finally finishing the work, Leila sat down with a sense of relief, and in the bar that I ordered a glass of wine at the guild hall and enjoyed the moment of peace. I only then noticed that the figure was missing at the counter. The lack of drunken shouting made me feel a little uncomfortable. Holding a wine glass, Leila walked to the table of Kana and others and sat down. "Kana, do you know what the president did?" "Well, he went out 2 days ago. He said he was going out for a walk. If he stays in the guild, he will become as lazy as you." Kana didn't even look at Leila. She was only concerned with checking the effects of the cards. While watching, she was eating the dessert handed over by Urza. "What? You said I'm lazy? When that stinky old man comes back, I will definitely pull out his beard." Leila said angrily, then he picked up a pastry and was about to put it in his mouth. Suddenly, Leila's movement froze, and he felt an extremely terrifying sight staring at him. Leila's open mouth closed again, and he put the pastry down silently. Seeing this, Urza looked away. She took a plate and a knife and fork for Leila at the table and handed them to her. Watching Leila eating the cakes with cutlery, she continued to enjoy the dessert in her hand. Leila wiped the non-existent sweat on her forehead and only heard a sneer. Leila quickly turned her head and found Laxus tinkering with his sound pot expressionlessly. Leila glared at Laxus and stopped paying attention to him, eating cakes absent-mindedly. The old man was so sharp that he went out 2 days ago, and the time was just right. It seems that he went to find Natsu. As for Wendy, there is no guild of the demon cat in now, and even he doesn't know where it is, but it should be near the vast sea of trees. As for the remaining 3, he really doesn't know where they are, so he can only act according to circumstances. In the Heartfilia group, Leila returned home and Jota took her into the room. After the healing magician Jota found confirmed that she was fine, he finally felt relieved, but still let Leila have a good rest. Then, Jota turned back to the study because there were other matters waiting for him to deal with. After everything was settled, Graham said goodbye and Leila stood at the door to see her off. "Graham, are you going back now?" Leila held Graham's hand tightly and said reluctantly. "Yes, Lady Leila, Brandish is still waiting for me at home." "Then you take the key to Aquarius away." "No need, Lady Leila, I think Miss Lucy is gifted, so I'll leave it to her. And if Aquia hadn't told me, I'm afraid I would have delayed Lady Leila's business." "Don't say that. Is there still no news about Mr. Zutter?" "No." Leila was in a heavy mood and shook her head helplessly. She didn't tell Graham about Zutter. "Then, Lady Leila, I should say goodbye. Graham, come back when you want to, and remember to bring Brandish with you next time." "Okay." Leila held the key to Aquarius tightly and watched Graham go away. Aquia also came to her side, watching the two of them with a smile on her face. "If you want to keep her, just say it. It's always like this. Consider other people's ideas first." "Aquia, don't touch my head. My hair is messy. The little girl has grown up. Can't I touch her?" Leila and Aquia haven't seen each other for a long time. The two of them laughed and played like children. "Aquia, you haven't seen Lucy yet, I'll take you to see her." "Okay, is it the same as when you were a child?" Chapter 59. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The big door is opened, and the big door is opened. Wow, it's so big. Is this the Wizard Guild? This is Fairy Tale. Fairy Tale? Well, do fairies have tails? But no one knows whether they really do. This is always a mystery and represents an eternal adventure. Although I don't understand it, it sounds great. There were two small figures standing at the door of the guild. Makarov solemnly introduced the meaning of the name of the guild to Natsu. "Hey, old man, are you back?" Leila had already noticed the two people at the door, but did not go forward to disturb them. "Well, Leila is back. How is work?" Makarov asked casually when he saw Leila. "It's okay." Leila smacked her lips and said carelessly. "Stinky boy, wait." Makarov thought to himself when he saw Leila's careless look. Then, the two walked into the guild. After everyone introduced them, Makarov also let Natsu join the guild, and stamped a bright red emblem on his right shoulder. After stamping, Natsu looked around curiously at everything in the guild. "President, did you go out to find Natsu?" Kana and the others surrounded him, asking Makarov while curiously looking at Natsu, who was looking around in the guild. At this time, Natsu was pulled by Mikao and Wakaba to introduce things in the guild. He is also a wizard who masters dragon-slaying magic, but it is fire attributed. Makarov raised his eyebrows and smiled. "Hey, this way, the guild has another lost magic." Urza sighed. "There is a very strange point. Natsu said he was raised by a dragon." Makarov changed the subject. He was a little annoyed that the boy had been asking about that on the way. Dragon, Kana, Altair and Urza all showed surprised expressions. On the other side where no one was paying attention, Laxus, who was eavesdropping, was also shocked. "Well, he said that the dragon taught him magic, but it suddenly disappeared on that day." Makarov explained. Speaking of which, when he found Natsu in that forest, he vaguely sensed a unique aura on Natsu. However, he still found it hard to believe that a dragon would appear there. There was no sign that a dragon had lived there, not to mention a fire dragon, which should appear in places like volcanoes. Moreover, dragons have long become legends in historical records and have not appeared for many years. Dragon taught him magic. Is this true or false? Who knows, but he doesn't look like he's lying. Makarov stared at Natsu thoughtfully, and the scarf around his neck. He couldn't tell the material of the scarf, but if what Natsu said was true, it was probably dragon scales. "Laxus, you're not the only dragon slayer in the guild, do you feel lost?" Leila nudged Laxus with her elbow, with a hint of teasing in her tone. "Ah. What are you talking about?" Laxus frowned and said speechlessly. "Do you feel that, oh, I'm no longer the only dragon slayer in the guild, and I feel so bad in my heart, this feeling. TSK, do you think I can compete with that kid?" Kana noticed the conversation between Leila and Laxus on the side, and couldn't help but whisper to Altair and Urza. "Leila sometimes becomes good." Kana was just saying, and suddenly got stuck, not knowing how to describe it. "Childish, and a bitchy look." Urza's words hit the nail on the head. "Yes, especially when she's with Laxus." Kana agreed with this very much. Leila once said that she just didn't want to see Laxus's arrogant look, and she doesn't talk much usually, just wants to tease him. Altair remembered asking Leila this question before. "Oh, that's true. But with Leila's bitchy look, it's no wonder Laxus always wants to fight with her." Urza suddenly realized, and saw Leila chattering beside Laxus and teasing Laxus, and she agreed deeply. Makarov was listening to the conversation between the two sides, and suddenly choked while drinking, and wiped his mouth helplessly. By the way, he suddenly remembered something. If he wanted to know the information, the person in front of him was indeed. There is indeed a suitable candidate. "Leila, you should know about the situation of Dragon." Makarov thought and asked Leila. "I'll tell you, huh?" Leila was chatting with Laxus, and suddenly heard the old man calling her, but she didn't hear the rest of the words clearly. "I said you should know the information about Dragon." Makarov repeated what he just said. Hee. Leila didn't say anything, just laughed twice. Seeing Leila like this, everyone knew that Leila must know, so they all gathered around. Natsu on the side was led by Mikao and Wakaba to visit the guild, and at the same time warned Natsu not to destroy the guild and to abide by the rules of the guild. Everyone on Leila's side began to urge him to speak quickly, and Leila felt that she had pretended to be almost done. So she stopped keeping it a secret. He took out a light pen in his hand, and wrote it in the air for everyone while speaking, so that everyone could understand better. Well, 400 years ago, the dragons were the masters of this world. At that time, humans were very weak and could only become food for the dragons. Later, there was a disagreement among the dragons, and they were eventually divided into two factions. One side was the coexistence faction that aimed to coexist peacefully with humans, and the other side was the opposition faction. At that time, the two sides were deadlocked, but later the dragons of the coexistence faction taught humans the dragon-killing magic, and since then, the situation began to tilt towards the coexistence faction. In this battle, a human overused the dragon-killing magic and killed more and more dragons. He gradually lost his mind and even slaughtered the dragons of the coexistence faction. He was bathed in dragon blood, and gradually his teeth turned into fangs, his skin turned into scales, and finally he turned into a dragon. He is the black dragon called the End in the Apocalypse, Acnologia, and that war is called the Dragon King Festival. Leila's words were so calm and light that they floated over everyone's heads. However, everyone around him was stunned as if struck by lightning. What about Laxus? Makarov asked Leila in disbelief. Don't worry, old man, that only happens when it is overused, and Acnologia has killed so many dragons before he can become a dragon. Leila. Yeah. The old man's response was brief and profound, as if he was trying to digest this shocking information. Laxus himself did not react for a while. After all, what Leila said was too shocking. The first generation of dragon slayers were taught magic by dragons, and the second generation had dragon slayer crystals implanted in their bodies. Leila's words continued. There are still some dragons in the world today, so what Natsu said should be true, but I don't know where the dragons who taught him went. Leila's eyes inadvertently turned to Natsu, not knowing whether she was looking at him or at a dragon in his body. Natsu, this is the commission column. You can accept commissions here in the future. A voice pulled everyone's thoughts back. What is written on it? I don't seem to understand it. Natsu's voice was confused. Didn't you learn the characters? Mikao asked in surprise. Igneel taught me the characters, but I just can't understand what is written here. Natsu retorted. At this time, Urza also walked over and comforted Natsu. Then, Urza made up her mind to teach Natsu to learn characters. In Natsu's gratitude, Urza was also very serious. She pulled Natsu aside and began to prepare the teaching materials for the class. 3 days. You treat me as the second Igneel. I will teach you all the necessary words in guild life within 3 days. Before that, don't think about eating, let alone sleeping. Urza's eyes suddenly became terrifying. She stared at Natsu seriously, as if she wanted to eat him alive. Urza, you are so scary. Natsu's face was full of fear, and he had already backed out in his heart. It's just teaching words, where is it scary? Urza said sternly, holding a sword in her hand. Just like that, Natsu was pulled away by Urza under the gaze of everyone. Come on, Natsu, you must survive. Everyone looked at them silently, praying for Natsu in their hearts. Chapter 60. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The sky was full of fog, and the sky was full of fog. Leila floated in the air, took out a cookie and threw it into her mouth. Overlooking the surrounding forest, he took out a piece of paper with a detailed map of the location of the Demon Cat Inn and some basic information about Robinlu, the president of the Demon Cat Inn. Well, it should be this one. He put the map in his hand in front of him and compared it with the real-time map in his mind. Ah, I see, there. Leila took the map back into space and looked forward. The whole forest suddenly became empty, with many houses standing on it, but it looked unique, which should be the traditional architecture of the Nearbit tribe. In the whole village, the most eye-catching thing is a small semicircular shed that looks like a cat, and the overall structure is very similar to a yurt. When they were still some distance away from the village, Leila came to the ground and prepared to sneak over to observe. Magna, Babel, I want to go down too. Wendy stood aside and said in a baby voice. Huh, okay. Maguna looked at Wendy's serious look and said half-jokingly. How should I put it, Wendy should stay by the side. Babel hit Maguna hard and said unhappily. Ouch, my fault, I just want to try it when I see Wendy, to satisfy her. Maguna cried out in pain, looked back at Babel, and said with a smile. Babel, I want to help you. Wendy puffed up her cheeks, a little unhappy. Wendy, go back and rest, we can do it here. Then I'll go back and get you a kettle. Maguna held a hoe and skillfully dug a piece of soil, Babel quickly sprinkled seeds, the two worked hard in the field, and Wendy trotted towards the house. Is that Wendy? Looks like. Leila looked at Wendy from a distance and couldn't help sighing in his heart, but he suddenly noticed something. When he turned around and looked, he saw an old man with a feather crown on his head standing there. He was Robinlu, the president of the Demon Cat Inn. Young man, what are you doing here? Robinlu frowned slightly and stared at Leila. Leila was panicked. This old man was so sharp that he noticed his presence so quickly. The most important thing was that Leila originally just wanted to take a sneak peek and leave, but who knew that he was caught red-handed. However, his mind turned quickly and he had already thought of an excuse. Grandpa Robinlu, I just came to see Wendy. Leila said with a stiff face. Wendy? How do you know Wendy? Robinlu's pupils opened slightly and his face became solemn. I learned about Wendy's situation from a friend, and he asked me to come and visit her. Leila said respectfully. Leila silently apologized to Mist Gang in her heart. Although he has not joined the guild yet, he will be a member of the guild in the future, so she will use him as a shield for now. Oh, a friend? Then come over, don't be sneaky, go and see Wendy. Robinlu heard Leila's words and remembered the boy at that time, so he asked Leila to follow him into the village. After walking for a while, Leila finally couldn't help but wonder in his heart and asked, Old man, do you trust me so much? Aren't you afraid that I'm lying? Robinlu laughed twice and said, I have lived for so long, and I can still see the nature of people. For some reason, Leila heard a hint of self-mockery from Robinlu's words. Then, he followed Robinlu into the village. Although there are not many residents in the village, there are dozens of people. Everyone is busy with their own things and looks no different from ordinary people. While Leila was observing the village, she didn't know that Robinlu was also observing Leila's reaction. Robinlu looked at Wendy, who was talking to Mtlnovel next to the field, and then called her over. Wendy, call, Leila, Leila Sloan. Well, call Leila brother, this is Jalal's friend. Brother Leila, where is Jalal, why doesn't he come to see me? Well, Wendy, Jalal still has things to do, but he still cares about you. Otherwise he wouldn't let me come, right? Well, Wendy knows. Wendy is so good. Then let's sit in the house. Robinlu said immediately. Okay. Leila responded. Robinlu took Leila and Wendy into the cat shed, and then Leila stayed here for an afternoon to play with Wendy. After all, there are few people of the same age here. Although the people in the guild are very nice to her, she still feels a little lonely. During this period, Wendy also asked Leila about Gerald. Leila told Wendy awkwardly that they joined the guild together, but he was busy, so he had no time most of the time and went out to work every time. After Leila finished speaking, she told Wendy some interesting things in the guild, which made Wendy laugh. Then it got darker. At the bonfire party, the whole guild was singing and laughing. Finally, after playing tired, Wendy fell asleep. Leila sent Wendy back to her room and then walked to the shed where Grandpa Robinlu was. Grandpa, what's the matter? Leila asked. Before sending Wendy back to the house, Robinlu asked him to wait until he came to him. He had something to say to Leila. Actually, I want you to take Wendy away. Robin looked at Leila and said seriously. What? Leila looked at Robin, and seeing that he didn't seem to be joking, her expression became serious. You should have seen it. Robin said calmly. When he first entered the village, he was a little suspicious, and he paid special attention in the afternoon and evening. He found that Leila didn't show anything to him and Wendy, but she always showed a little awkwardness to other people in the guild. In this way, he could be sure that Leila had doubts, or perhaps guessed something. Indeed, Leila certainly knew what Robin meant. They are all made up by me using phantom magic, so I want you to take Wendy to your guild, and Jalal is not there. Wendy will be very happy. Leila was still listening carefully to the first half of the sentence, but became nervous at the end, with cold sweat on her head, her eyes wandering, and her hands and feet unnatural. What's wrong? Is there any problem? Robinlo looked at Leila's appearance and thought that there was a difficulty in letting Wendy join. He never thought that Leila lied to him. Nothing, but does Wendy know about this? Leila wiped off the cold sweat and asked seriously. She doesn't know. Robinlo was silent for a long time and replied. Old man, I can understand your feelings, but I think we should still consider Wendy's own ideas. Leila had this idea, but he always felt that it might not be a good choice for Wendy. Besides, I think it's too early for Wendy to do this. She will definitely not accept it. No problem, I will continue to maintain the magic and prevent her from discovering the abnormality. I will tell her the truth when she grows up. But is Wendy willing to leave here? That when Leila asked this question, Robinla had actually guessed the answer, but he still wanted Wendy to meet real companions. After that, Robinla did not discuss the matter again. After arranging a room for Leila, he returned to the house by himself. The next morning, Leila was ready to leave. Although Wendy was reluctant, she still said goodbye to Leila. Leila comforted Wendy and said that he would come to see her often in the future. If possible, Wendy could come to Magnolia to play with him in the future. Then he left, but Robinlo's voice suddenly interrupted Leila's steps. Wendy, do you want to join Leila's guild? Grandpa President, why do you say that? Jalal is also there. You will be happy to join their guild. Grandpa President, I like everyone in the guild. Wendy suddenly looked at Robinla very seriously with a firm look in her eyes. Well, okay. Robinlo looked at Wendy with tears in his eyes, and smiled and touched Wendy's head. Then, old man, Wendy, I'm going back. Leila waved to everyone and left. Chapter 61. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The two of them were busy, and the two were busy. Are you sure you want to take this commission? Makarov stared into Leila's eyes and asked seriously. Leila nodded without hesitation. With a confident smile on her lips, Makarov picked up a pen and began to record the commission information, while persuading her worriedly, do you really not need Wulu's help? It should be a lot easier with her. Don't worry, old man, I called a friend, he is a professional. Leila patted her chest and answered confidently. Leila took the commission, checked the location on it, and walked towards the station without looking back. Friends? Professionals? President, do you know who his friends are? Ulu walked to Makarov, sat down at the counter, looked at Leila's back as she left, and asked in confusion. I don't know either. Makarov folded his hands in front of his chest and shook his head. Kana, does Leila always take commissions on her own? Leibi asked curiously. Yes, let's ignore him and continue playing cards. Kana didn't even raise her head, her eyes still fixed on the game. Then you are not allowed to use magic. Leibi pouted and said angrily. Don't worry, Leibi. Kana nodded and agreed. You just used magic to beat Leibi. Ulusia looked at the book and calmly exposed it. Don't expose me, Ulusia. Kana was a little embarrassed and angry. Commission, resolve the water demon, which can shuttle freely in the river and kill all creatures that want to get close to the water source. The surrounding villages have suffered from it. The reward is 800,000 J. Leila tightly grasped the dark purple handle, raised the sword high, and fought fiercely with the huge water demon in front of her. The body of the water demon is connected to the river and is completely composed of water flow. Leila's slashing has little effect on it. It became more and more arrogant and summoned multiple water columns to attack Leila. After seeing Leila dodge easily, it released a huge water tornado to attack Leila, and Leila broke it with a knife. However, at this moment, the air around Leila was surrounded by water flow, and the water flow began to rotate around Leila, forming a huge vortex. Leila used teleportation to escape the encirclement. Just when the two were in a stalemate, a voice came from Leila's mind, "Okay. The game is over." Then, Leila quickly dodged and came to the upper reaches of the river. After standing still, she shouted loudly, "Shirkai," that the katana instantly released a raging flame, which wrapped around the blade. The temperature around rose sharply, the river water under Leila's feet began to evaporate rapidly, and the surrounding trees began to spontaneously combust. The body of the water demon gradually evaporated, and it was horrified to find that all the water flows around Leila were disappearing, and even the road upstream was blocked. Even if it wanted to connect to the upstream river, it was cut off by Leila. After feeling the threat of the katana in Leila's hand, the water demon decisively merged into the river and fled downstream. Ice demon's excitement, that with just one sound, a purple frozen wind as violent as a hurricane rushed towards the river surface. Downstream, a figure walked slowly along the river as if walking on flat ground. Wherever his feet touched, all the ground instantly condensed into purple ice. The water demon tried to break the ice, but when it came into contact with the energy contained in the ice, it was shocked as if it was electrocuted and was forced to retreat. Helplessly, it could only roar, pour out all its magic power, and surge like a wave, rushing towards the two people. Song Ming, that a tornado-shaped flame wall roared towards the water demon and wrapped it tightly. Wherever the flame wall touched, it was evaporated by the flame. Absolute Zero, that the man on the side was not to be outdone. He released his magic power, which spread along the river to the body of the water demon and froze it. In the end, under the double attack of the two people, he died completely, and the flame released by Leila melted the ice and gradually dissipated. "Luckily you helped me, otherwise I really don't know how to deal with it." Leila put away the sword and wiped the sweat from her forehead. "It's really tricky. We need to find its body and cut off the water sources around it to completely destroy it. If we are not careful, it will escape." It actually released a clone in advance. Fortunately, you can sense the breath of the devil, otherwise it will really run away. Ian looked at the surrounding environment and put the trees that were still burning, freeze, then remove the ice. "The reward this time is very generous. I'll share it with you when I get back." "Okay. I'll send it to you later." "Oh, here you go." Leila took out some photos and handed them to Ian. Ian took the photos, looked at them in front of his eyes for a while, and then carefully put them in the interlayer of his clothes. "You came to me, it shouldn't be just to destroy this demon." "Of course not, your demon-killing method has been used to perfection, so this time it's mainly because of this." Leila casually passed a series of information into Yin's mind. Ian closed his eyes, receiving the information from Leila, and couldn't help but whispered, "Gate of Hades?" "Yes, we only killed the original demons, and the Gate of Hades was created by Jalal, so it should not be underestimated. I will keep an eye on their movements later, but it may not be easy to find them. Don't worry too much, just remind you that they are not easy to deal with. When you meet them, avoid them first, and you will have a chance to kill them later." The two finished talking and were about to turn around and leave when a villager suddenly appeared in the forest. He witnessed the two people destroying the demons, and was so excited that he burst into tears. He insisted on inviting them to the village and wanted to entertain them. Ian was about to refuse politely, but Leila agreed. Ian had no choice but to go with Leila. On the way to the village, the villager told his sufferings, and his emotions became more and more excited, and his gratitude to the two was overflowing. As soon as they arrived at the entrance of the village, they saw him shouting loudly, and the whole village came running. Knowing that the demon had been eliminated, the villagers surrounded them and entered the village. Taking out some food to entertain them, Leila ate heartily at the table, busy with things. He had not eaten before coming, and if he was not really hungry, he would not accept the invitation. Ian silently held the wine glass, watching Leila wolfing down the food, thinking in his heart, after eating and drinking, Leila asked to leave, but the village chief asked them if they could go to the next village, because a demon appeared in the church there. Leila and Ian looked at each other and then agreed. The village chief thanked him repeatedly, saying that he had a relative in that village, otherwise he would not have made such a presumptuous request. Leila expressed her understanding, and then walked with Een in the direction pointed by the village chief. After arriving at the village, Een was keenly aware that although there was a demonic aura in the village, it was very weak and almost invisible. The two walked towards the village. A villager stopped them and asked them as if they were facing a great enemy. They learned that they were here to eliminate the demon. The demon has left. The villager said to them. Left? Leila and Een looked at each other, and a trace of doubt surged in their hearts. Where is the demon now? Een frowned and asked. I don't know. Leila and Een turned and left the village. They felt something was wrong. The villager seemed to be hiding something. After they walked away, the whole village swarmed out and asked Leila and Een about their purpose. When they learned that they were here to eliminate the demon, the crowd began to whisper and talk one after another. Some people condemned the villager for concealing the direction where the demon left, and some people advocated not to tell the truth, but they never mentioned what happened. On the other side, Leila used magic to hear these discussions. And learned an important piece of information: the demon left to the east. So, the two rushed to the east, and Leila and Een continued to teleport. At this time, night had fallen, and the demon's breath had stopped. On the way, Een sensed a trace of demonic breath in the air. Under Yin's guidance, Leila teleported to the vicinity of the demon. Een couldn't help but murmur in his heart, he had never met a demon with such a weak breath. The two approached the direction of the demon, but were surprised to find that there were only 3 human figures.